My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. (9KRD 859). That's 9KRD 859. Stalking in the middle of the night of the United States Postal Service. 12:03 a.m. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. That is the fake moon. That's impossible light moving across the wall. Not their headlights. they're monitoring together, and this is a third party. This is a demon as well, but this is a third party. This is, as you're going to prosecute, an agent of the Ontario Police Department, 9 SRW 202, engaging in what is surveillance. Okay, and I've documented this amongst this population over and over and over again. And the way that you know that they're engaging in that is this environment that's coexisting with what is the pattern of conduct of stalking, surveillance, which is what this is under the pattern of conduct. Doing so, again, aiming light, being parked illegally, getting out of the vehicle. The moment that I start recording, the demon that drives by or rides by on the skate, this demon is listening to me record, gets out their vehicle, parked in front of the church, parked at the red curb in front of the bus stop. Starbucks is at the end of the corner. Nothing stopping from being parked way down at the end of the street. The entity is engaging in what is monitoring, and now he's pacing. Okay, this is a third party that's engaging in what is surveilling me while I'm sleeping. These are demons that are engaging in what is an ongoing experiment, observing, obsessing over me, stalking me, doing so while even they know that they are being documented, engaging in this, while the government is actively engaging in what is a conspiracy to murder. This is why Mike LORENZ is being prosecuted. By the way, you're not doing anything. You can get out, have an Uber arrive, leave your car, make it look like, oh, I'm doing this for a purpose. It's under the fake moon, which is over me. While the engineer light, you see the engineer light that was moving across the wall? This is a stalker. And this is state action. This is also mental illness. The demons that are obsessing over me and watching me like I'm so fascinated are actually the ones who are mentally ill. And their ongoing stalking conduct is the evidence of it. This is P.O.C. This is where the government is stalking by helicopter. And this is where the entity is engaging in what is wanting to be as close to me as possible, stalking, monitoring, studying their devices. They're zombies. They're mentally ill. This is a white man I've never met before, and he's obsessed with my vagina. He is stalking as the population while they're pacing back and forth, and he's monitoring. This is P.O.C. Okay? Look at the shadow in front of him. This is a demon. He's stalking. Look at that. And he's doing so at 6 o'clock in the morning. What's informing somebody to come and get up and stalk someone like that? It's mental illness, it's a conspiracy to murder, and it's state action. And this is what the state of California is engaging in. This is P.O.C. This is a psychopath. He's sitting here studying his device, monitoring me. That's the pattern of conduct. Not waiting for a drink at Starbucks. Not waiting for the Viet American Weekly to open. Not waiting for Trinity, the church, to open. Sitting there while they are stalking with light under the fake moon over me, studying me, monitoring me while I am unconscious, sleep. And the entity does this while they are stalking my planes and helicopters, while they're pacing all around me. And recall, the moment that I started recording, that demon rides by on the bike. That's called stalking with activity. These are all demons monitoring me together. They're not individuals. They're not strangers. These are demon-possessed people who are acting in sync. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. This is an unlawful threat while I'm exposing the experimentation that the U.S. government is engaging in. And the U.S. government is full of demons. They're experimenting on people that are different than them, meaning I am not succumbing to their witchcraft. I'm not succumbing to their psychological warfare. And they sit around obsessing and stalking me, and I'm going to prosecute for that. There is nothing about that light activity that's related to the headlights on these vehicles. These are demons who are monitoring me. And they are studying their devices, where we are all kept under surveillance, by the way, in this environment. And they're doing so while they are stalking obsessively. It's mentally ill behavior. It's sick behavior. And they also murder people that they obsess over. P.O.C. It is currently 6:20 a.m. That's the entity, I want to be clear, that's engaged in conduct on behalf of the state. I'm going to prosecute for that. That's an unlawful threat. P.O.C. Surveillance. Surveillance. There's the fake moon over me. Where the fake sun rises right here over me as well. Don't forget about that documentation. And that's where the airport is stalking, where white men are sitting around stalking and obsessing over me, and doing so while I'm sleeping, monitoring my breathing, monitoring my digestion, monitoring my vagina in bathrooms, stalking using millions of dollars using airline companies. There are no flights that are coming from the airport right here. They're not coming over the Ontario Village Shopping Center. They're engaging in stalking, and the entity is doing it through a population, and they are doing that while they are stalking on the roads and the highways in concert with a demon that wants to be right next to me, right next to me while they're engaging in this conduct. This is the P.O.C, psychopathic pacing. Psychopathic pacing. All right, this is the ongoing admission of what is Alan D. WAPNER. Like I already said, Otif El-Qadi. That's not a CEO, he's a terrorist. Alan D. WAPNER is not a president of the airport authority, he's a terrorist. And the more that you expose them, demons who are mentally ill, they engage in more of that criminal and obvious targeting conduct, because there's nothing helpful or less stalkerish with the planes, more of them flying where there are no planes taking off. This is the housing community, Lemon Avenue, all those houses where I'm showing you the entity that is stalking through that neighborhood, and you're hovering over the gas station, over Euclid Avenue, right where I'm at, wanting to be as close to me, just like this white man in this Civic, wanting to be as close to me, stalking me, monitoring me, doing cartwheels in the planes. Okay, psychopathic pacing, that's what they're doing on the roads and the highways. It's not traffic, and it's occurring under the fake moon. That's the pattern of conduct. The government is going to be prosecuted for what is proven to be unlawful and inhumane experimentation, gang stalking me, and then unsuccessfully being able to get rid of me or silence me. And now they're still doing it in front of the whole world, which is proof of the mentally ill who conduct these experiments in the first place. They're demons, that's all. All of that's impossible. Light activity has nothing to do with the headlights on that vehicle. That's a demon who is stalking. That's what the U.S. government is doing to people, period. And those that are engaging in this experimentation are demon possessed. They're demons that engage in that. These are the ones that are going to be consuming each other's flesh. These are the ones that are going to be consuming their own offspring. These are the ones that are consuming the bodily fluids of other people. It's demonic. It's not science. It's not normal. They are engaging in what is obsessing over me and stalking me, and they cannot overwhelm me. They can't control me. And they also don't have a right under the law to stalk me like they are, like the Ontario International Airport is giving me direct evidence of. They are going to regret their foolishness. But that's because they're inferior beings. They're demons, and I'm going to drag them in court. P.O.C. This is criminal activity. I'm going to prosecute for every means of what is public corruption. Everything that they're doing, where they live, where they travel, where they're shopping, where they're maintaining businesses, how the city is operating, that's light activity. They're monitoring. They're demons. It is an outrage what the U.S. government is doing, and the U.S. government is filled with demons who are mentally ill. They're sick people. And this is the prosecution of that entity. This is P.O.C.
En la segunda lectura, San Pablo en su carta a los Corintios nos recuerda que el anuncio del Evangelio no se apoya en la sabiduría humana, sino en la fuerza del Espíritu y en la fe en Jesucristo crucificado. Por medio del Evangelio de San Mateo, Jesús nos llama a que no escondamos nuestra fe, sino a ser la sal que preserva del mal y la luz que ilumina las buenas obras para la gloria de Dios. Hermanos y hermanas, que este Evangelio Eucarístico renueve en nosotros el deseo de vivir nuestra fe con alegría y de ser signos visibles del amor de Dios. Preparémonos para nuestra Santa Misa.
All right, what you're listening to is a Catholic church service, Mass as it's referred to. It is the P.O.C. And 4ZYY657 is engaging in surveillance, while the so-called Catholic population is engaging in the pattern of conduct. And as I am inside of the building of the religious I am no less exposed to the pattern of conduct. In fact, all the demon-possessed fill that building, and they are just identifying as Catholics. They are in the same engineered light. They're engaged in the same psychopathic pacing. They're engaged in the same criminal conduct with the population that's monitoring outside, as you hear, and they are monitoring inside. What is the nature of the audible activity on the inside? The audible activity and adoration of some dead person, okay, which is demonic, by the way. And the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct while they are gang stalking with the same government license plate, EM15 Robert 74. That's a paper plate on a white Mercedes. Gang stalking me during the midst of a Catholic mass service. The entity, as the video that you can hear as well, is that which is occurring while I'm being molested with the same exact impossible light activity. The same terrorist, the Ontario International Airport, Southwest Airlines, knows exactly where I'm at. They know where I'm at with regard to what is concerted, cooperative contact, tracking, stalking, monitoring, and monitoring spirits attend Catholic mass services. Okay, that is speaking to what is the lack of genuine relationship with the true and living God. However, no monitoring spirit is engaging in what is any relationship with Christ Jesus, with the Lord God himself. You're also not praying to dead people. Okay, they're engaging in the pattern of conduct while I'm sitting in that church building, which is nothing other than a facilitating venue. This is speaking to what is the government that is controlling any and all, every aspect of the people of the state. Okay, their religion centers around the P.O.C. 5YQL 859. Their businesses center around the P.O.C. Their lifestyles, their family life, their households center around the P.O.C. This is the absence of actual freedom, and there is zero privacy. I am existing amongst a population of zombies, and they're demon-possessed. And this demon possession is that which is also shown to be the same infection, the same infirmity by those that are stalking in the role of the government itself. I show you these things in order to give you insight regarding the absence of any exception. There are no exceptions. There are no anomalies. There is no corner in the city or in the state that's not engaging in the demonic pattern of conduct, in other words. And you are able to deduce that from the entity that is maintaining a whole unnatural environment. When you're using something like a fake sun, that is letting you know that it is everyone and it is everywhere. I have gone to the extent to document the evidence to support that, however, because I understand, and you shouldn't ever just accept what someone tells you. And it's, in fact, if they are speaking and claiming to have the authority in Christ Jesus, then you will be able to prove that. Okay, but I just want to document, and I captured also visible impossible light activities on the inside of the building. They are walking into the church building at the same time as Southwest Airlines is flying over. There are no flights that are occurring over, not only over Euclid Avenue, over the Starbucks, but they're migrating as I migrate north and south on Euclid Avenue. There are no flights that are going to occur in the sky space over the St. George Catholic Church, like they're not occurring over Woodside Senior Apartments, like they're not occurring over Ontario Town Square, like there are no landings and takeoffs over the housing community. There's no airport behind that community, meaning east of that community. The airport is south of Holt Boulevard. Everyone knows where it's at. Southwest Airlines, the Ontario International Airport, is stalking, and so is everybody in that building. And they are all stalking with the convenience of what is the engineer light. Any and everything that they're doing is serving that pattern of conduct. And you have the seamless engagement in the P.O.C. inside of that venue and outside of that venue. Those that go and worship idols, those that pray to dead people, those that claim some false religion, they do so gang stalking in the same manner that open Satanists, or referring to themselves as atheists, do, or referring to themselves by any other religion, or not identifying at all, while they're engaged in the same pattern of conduct. Okay, the entity is crossing path, doing so in engineer light. That's what they're doing while they're walking into the building of the mass service, while Southwest Airlines is flying over me. This demon that I just took a picture of right now is walking in engineer light, monitoring. Walking in light that's just manifesting out of nowhere. It's not the sun and it's not sunlight. And I've also shown you, when you pay attention, you'll have the engineer light appearing, and there's not even any placement of the sun that's supposed to be, even though it's not. When you see the fake sun, you see the engineer light, it's not a logical connection. But I show you even more than that. The engineer light is there. Where's the fake sun? Where is it at? It's nowhere. What does that have to do with the shadows, the light that's appearing in the darkness, manifesting out of nowhere? These are demons. And it's the same pattern, walking into the church, crossing path, doing so with the entity that's stalking in the sky space. These are people who are oppressed with demon possession, and that is not a defense in court. It's a means of you understanding what's going on in the United States, and also for the times that we are in, Satan having what is control over a population over a government, and the government is engaging in what is a satanic system that it tried to execute on me, and that's not going to work. In fact, I'm going to now expose you, and I'm going to prosecute you. Their ongoing obsession with me is because of their demon possession. Their ongoing delusion with thinking that under any circumstances in the form of a courtroom where you provide evidence of, in fact, targeting and the nature of the crime, you knew that you were documenting, you are one psychotic stalker. You kept doing it while you knew she was documenting. They're going to be committed and they're going to be prosecuted. And that's an unprecedented basis for recovery, financially speaking. You cannot quantify the threat of a population that is mentally ill, that is obsessively stalking you. They're not able to oppress me. They're not able to stop me. They're not able to also stop me from documenting. Psychopathic pacing on D Street, and the entity is stalking the Southwest Airlines. And you're going to look at where they're deviating. They're not flying over the church building anymore because I'm not at the church building. Okay, that's D Street and Firm, the same neighborhood where the Ontario Police and UPS and Southwest Airlines were gang stalking while I was at the James Bryan Park, but that was at 4 o'clock in the evening. So what's going on right now is gang stalking by demons. Only the demon possessed are gang stalking. Gang stalking is a reference to the government that is keeping you under surveillance. The gang are the people of the state that are stalking on behalf of the government that's keeping you under surveillance at all places and at all times. The people of the state are serving the corrupt, demonic, criminal purposes of the government. That is monitoring you wherever they live, everywhere that they travel, obviously where they worship, and on the roads and the highways. That's what the term gang stalking is literally in reference to. And that's the significance of what it is that you're listening to. License 7TLY248, 4S71990, 9NSD370, and this is the public exposure in the real-time ability to witness what is the implosion of gang stalking, the secrecy of this government system, this unlawful and inhumane experimentation, and the demon-possessed witnessing their own limitations and learning the fact of what they never were in the first place, and learning to whom they shall not violate, the line that they shall not cross. Now, these are a suicidal people. Now, when the Lord God says that you shall not and do not, touch not, the demon-possessed are suicidal and they are persisting to their own demise. And you are witnessing also, and you're going to continue to witness, what will be the consequences of what they have done. And it's called judgment. All right. The Lord God is real, just like gang stalking is real. The Lord God, who is over all, sees all, knows all, and is outside of time, is also very real. And he is raining down judgment on the wicked who are engaging in criminal activity that which I have exposed. And this is speaking to what is inferior. It doesn't matter how big that government thinks that it is. It is subservient to the purposes of the Lord God himself, who is not over a people who are demon-possessed. The demon-possessed are coming against his people, and you know them by their deeds. They're no gang-stalking demon trying to maintain some duplicitous identity. Oh, I'm a Christian, but I also engage in a little bit of gang-stalking in the background. I'm a little secret witchcraft. I do a little bit of sex rituals every here and there. No, they are not. It's very clear. This world has tried to mix and confuse, but it is clear. Scripture does not change. And he stands by his word. And this, the P.O.C., the prosecution of the U.S. government, is confirmation of the truth of the word of God, by the way. It is literally serving to prosecute demons, to discern them, to identify them, to expose them, to humiliate them, to judge them. 8TGF 452. This is the Ontario International Airport that's keeping me under surveillance in a church service. There's no private conduct going on in there. There are no private citizens. That's the government congregating, praying to dead people. License 9PEK372, and then calling it holy. Not only is that not holy, but it's criminal conduct. This is the government cloaking itself, keeping American citizens under surveillance. 9BWR017, this is P.O.C. It is Sunday, February 8, 2026. This is P.O.C. This is engineer light. And this is for monitoring. This is during a church mass service, Catholic service, and multiple shadows appearing at a distance away from me. And this is the fake sun that is behind me. This is 7:04 a.m. This is an entity that's engaging in what is stalking by the Ontario International Airport. I took a picture. Southwest Airlines is hovering, following me as I leave the bus stop. And this is the entity that's engaging what is obsessing over me, monitoring me, and monitoring me in my sleep. Monitoring, which is evident through the environment that follows me, literally the environment, the demonic environment where the demons are stalking. They are stalking me with an environment as well. And the government is maintaining criminal monitoring inside of what is a church mass service. It's all audible activity. Their prayers to whoever saint that they are referring to is audible activity in the impossible light activity. They're walking into the building monitoring me. They're in the parking lot and they're monitoring. And that's also how you know that they're demons. You assert some sort of belief and you're engaging in criminal conduct that's also demonic at the same time. You walk right into the building, gang stalking. And this is the unintelligent entity that provides evidence exposing what is a statewide system regarding how the government, which is full of demons, have a population oppressed. They practice whatever religion that they practice, and they do so while they are monitoring at the same time. Southwest Airlines is engaging in what pattern of conduct, and there is no alignment with what is stalking at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, hovering over the back parking lot where I'm at. It's nothing other than clear stalking, which is evident through the fake sun that's not remaining over the bus stop. But this is the pattern of conduct where you're seeing the fake sun over me during the day, rising and setting in alignment to me. And that's also where you see the fake moon, where those that call themselves Catholics, they're monitoring with the government while they walk into the Catholic church service. Okay? I will be clear. I will let you know there is no mystery with regard to the relation between pedophilia of young boys and the religion of Catholicism, where they are gang stalking demons. Having sex with children is a means of sacrifice, and it's also state action. The entity that is gang stalking are pedophiles. They are sex offenders, and they congregate. And they call themselves engaging in what is religion. And it is religion, because religion has nothing with an actual, true, genuine relationship with the Savior of the world, Christ Jesus, and his name, the true and living God. Okay, who is not a part of any sort of demonic monitoring system. Okay, this is P.O.C. And that's why they're entering into the building is coinciding with the stalking in the sky space under a fake sun where you're attending church. It's the P.O.C. All right, it is currently 7:07. All right, Pepe's towing. I documented these terrorists for a prolonged period, keeping me under surveillance. They're engaging in stalking, surveillance, and using the business of Pepe's towing to engage in monitoring. AWNX237, this is the government utilizing Pepe's towing as a means of cloaking itself. You're understanding that this is manipulation of circumstances, witchcraft. It's literally the engagement in the criminal elements of monitoring, witchcraft. And the entities engaging in what is deception in plain sight, illusions, witchcraft, which is manipulation as well. Pepe's towing service, California number 117433. And the license plate looks like they're headquartered here in Ontario. They are a gang stalker. License 10660V3. They are stalking on behalf of the government, like every business is, and I'm going to prosecute. It's an epic federal RICO case against the government that is utilizing the people of the state, including every business, to keep me under surveillance, and it's in furtherance of the criminal conspiracy to murder. And that's the foolishness of Southwest Airlines and UPS and all these other companies that are gang stalking. It's very foolish. It's literally, but this is supposed to happen. These are demons. This is relevant to what is Satan, who is, spiritually speaking, inferior to those who walk with Christ. It's an inevitable, triumphant victory in Jesus' name. This is not my doing. It's his doing. And not only that, this is relevant to what is an inevitable success in court. And when you give evidence to the prosecutor, you intend to lose. And that's literally what the entity is always doing. And it's the most foolish thing I've ever seen. But nonetheless, my job is to prosecute. And the fools have made it a lot easier. License 8DCH228. P.O.C. at the Stater Brothers Ontario Village Shopping Center. 7:31 a.m. License 61634 Apple II at 315 Vine Avenue. Fake sun over me. Demons engaging in surveillance where they live, walking out of their facilitating venues, getting in their cars, stalking in the path with the airport. That's relying on their presence to keep me under surveillance on the ground. License BL51 Robert 28. That's a paper plate. Crossing path. Stalking. License 6 Nancy 48333. That's an old white male. Honking the horn is audible activity. 6 Bob Indiana Frank 302. 26661 Uncle 1. Crossing path. This is at the same D Street where they're stalking me at 4 in the evening. They're under the fake sun, they're stalking. License plate. This is a Latino couple. License 34808 George 3. A white Ford F-150. License 9BKF172 Surveillance. Stalking in the path at 321 Vine Avenue. License, oh, I read that one. That's P.O.C. And the entity is stalking by the airport. That same ongoing concerted conduct. Plane over in the sky space, demons on the ground simultaneously. That's the psychopathic pacing. Above me and on the same plane as me on the ground, they're pacing all around, stalking. And this is at the D Street and Vine Avenue intersection where the fake sun is over me while I'm at the James Bryant Park. This is the same hood. All the same demons. 9WYK716. This city is engaged in what is kidnapping. They're engaged in vagina monitoring. They're engaged in ongoing terrorism, and they're going to be prosecuted as the terrorists that they are. 8 George Apple Sam 935. They're engaging in what is terrorism with the government, and the people of the state are terrorists. License 9 Robert Larry Yolanda 459. Crossing path 5 Apple Charlie George 513 while the entity is stalking by planes. 425 West D Street. D as in dog, 310 North Vine Avenue. I captured video of the engineered light, just like you see on the Catholic Church. You have 503 West D Street, sitting in their vehicle, stalking in the path. 7XMZ552, right in front of 425 West D Street, stalking. 9VLR784, sexual assault and battery, stalking with the airport. That's a concerted effort. They're doing so while they are living in facilitating venues. 425 West D Street is not a private venue. That's why the fake sun is over me, both in the morning and in the evening, where the Ontario police are providing evidence for me to prosecute them. And if they're not natural-born citizens like everyone else, they're going to be deported. And that's relevant to what is federal prison, because they're stalking me with the police where they live. 7YEF058, they're stalking me with the population. That's unprecedented facilitation. That's federal prison as well, by the way. They're stalking and monitoring while they're monitoring the evidence in real time. The airport's providing evidence of them being co-conspirators. AZQX723, that's federal prison. All of those are bases of federal prison. 7TUR7A1, 781, license 9 Robert Frank George 937. This is 425 West D Street. Fake sun in the morning. Psychopathic pacing, engineer light. The demons that are stalking on the roads and the highways. 7EYN025. An old white dirty bastard. Stalking at the intersection. Stalking a black woman. You're thinking we're all separate because of races and how much money. And it's a lie out of hell. They're all demons. Unified. Stalking a black woman, by the way. How about that? The demons that are engaging in the system are creating what are barriers in your mind, conditioning you to think one way so that you would never get to what is the truth of the matter, because you have so many preconditions regarding what's possible and what's relevant and what's not even going to be entertained in your mind, because you think that racist white folks aren't obsessed with black people's vaginas, and they are. 8MIC025. While they at the same time speak regularly regarding racial epithets, regarding any race. But they're demons that are gang stalking me. You're obsessed with me. And it's the demons that are in them that cause that obsession. And it's the entity that is oppressed with regard to serving the criminal government's purposes. And it doesn't matter what race they are. That's why you're witnessing a population stalking a black woman. License plate 9 Edward Yolanda Henry 710. That's why you have females engage in homosexual conduct. Stalking me, obsessing over me, wanting to touch me, obsessed with my bodily fluids, stalking me in places like bathrooms. License 8 Mary Yolanda Kelly 067. And it's psychotic for a population to engage in any of it at any time under any circumstances. And it's a whole statewide system in California. California is not the place to be. California is the cradle regarding those that are hell-bound. They're going right to hell, okay? This is the entity that is dead. These are dead people, and they're engaging in the deeds of the dead. All right, they're engaging in conduct where they are miserable, and it's shown the misery that they're in while they engage in this conduct, and now it's no longer a secret, and now they're going about their ongoing miserable lives in front of everyone, and they're being prosecuted and humiliated in the process as well. But this is a part of what is the judgment of those who have made a decision to go with Satan, because there is no oppression of a government that's going to be a defense before the Lord God himself. I just want to be clear on that. And not only that, my documentation, which is again a witness to those who are in darkness, if you didn't know that you were a demon, if you didn't know that it was wrong to gang stalk somebody, 6UMK147 knows, while she's keeping the evidence about her and she's listening to the true nature of what is her character and what is wrong with her while she is stalking, and all the ways in which she's doing it, like with minor children, like against somebody that you don't even know, for purposes that don't even make any sense. You and yourself in your mind can't even admit that you're doing it, let alone give a reason as to why, because you're not even at a level where you can admit it. You're going to be prosecuted with the evidence because the demon-possessed are in denial. Okay? The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they are aware of the fact that they are wicked. There is no denying it, and they are facing judgment. Okay? And part of that judgment, a large part of it, is what is exposure. And it is through the prosecution, through the publication of evidence regarding the P.O.C., the demon-possessed in California, 9HEX358, which is, in case you haven't gotten it yet, the demon-possessed in the United States of America, the demon-possessed government, 6TBV836, P.O.C., 7TQN945. It's 8:17 a.m. And at 503 West D Street, 425 West D Street and 503 West D Street, the entity has the fake sun over me in the same manner, where the Ontario police are stalking me at the same intersection as I captured the other day. And this is when they're monitoring evidence, and the unintelligent, the imprudent defendants, co-defendants, provide evidence. As I speak to it, they provide ongoing confirmation so that no federal judge has to search for the evidence. We don't have to go back into the archives and pull up what happened 2 months ago in the morning and compare it with what's happening. What was today's the 8th? That was on the 6th, because the entity will moments later provide ongoing confirmation in real time with regard to a federal judge being able to make a much more easier. You would still, you have all the evidence, so we can go back into the record. That's why I documented it. But that's how foolish the demons are that are gang stalking. They provide ongoing confirmation right there on the spot. And that's the Ontario police that are stalking me while I'm at what is 428 West D Street by helicopter at this intersection across from 425 West D Street. So that's the same location. All right, the same intersection, Vine Street and D, as in dog. This is where the entity is stalking, and that's on video. And I captured them stalking me in the morning, this same intersection. Fake sun is over me. They're all stalking in their homes. They are all in the shoes of the government because they're maintaining presence, stalking me. That's what gang stalking is. The gang is the people of the state who are stalking while the government is maintaining criminal surveillance. It is state-organized stalking. P.O.C. NESLAP, monitoring. 8MMS 974, monitoring. And it is their ongoing role to go into places like the grocery store and engage in something as psychotic and embarrassing as what is the fact of stalking somebody in the grocery store. And they do that to help the employees. The employees are stalking just the same, okay? But the customers are there with a little bit more freedom. They can go in whatever aisle that I'm at. They can stand there and stare at the bread, and they don't have to maintain the ongoing illusion of being focused on their job. Okay, they can just focus on the dog food in the aisle while they're monitoring me in relevant position in the adjacent aisle, monitoring and tracking my steps while I go from produce to the aisle in the where the peanut butter is, where they're tampering with the food, the products that I typically buy, standing around stalking in the aisles that they anticipate for me to go through based on that which the entity knows that I purchase. Those are psychopaths that are stalking in grocery stores, stalking on the roads and the highway, stalking where they live, stalking as they travel. You get up and schedule your gang stalking conduct in the grocery store, and the evidence will show how obsessed and how mentally ill the demon-possessed are. Okay, that's the P.O.C. And this is rooted in what is prosecuting a government and exposing the U.S. government for the oppressor that it is. And unfortunately, the reality is that the inevitable conclusion is that this is what the U.S. government is doing in other countries. And the reality of that is that there are inevitable consequences for that. All right, it's currently 8:20 a.m. This is P.O.C. Listen to the plane activity. Amazon Prime. That's who is gang stalking right now. Amazon Prime is teaming up with Starbucks. Starbucks is monitoring through its customers. License plate 9 Wendy Uncle Kelly 574 under the 9:27 a.m. fake sun at 507 North Euclid Avenue, taking images of Amazon Prime gang stalking me with the customers of Starbucks, which is Starbucks. Starbucks is profiting while targeting me through its traffic in and out of the building while they are making money off of federal group stalking and monitoring. Starbucks is a state actor in the same way that St. George Catholic Church is a state actor. This is P.O.C. It's 9:28 a.m. All right, Chevron is indeed stalking, 9UVK223. Chevron is stalking at 9:30 a.m. Be reminded of Chevron stalking yesterday afternoon, and you're looking at the same setting while I'm showing you what is criminal surveillance by the government acting through the people of the state who are not private citizens. They're not individuals either. They are an army of what are demon-possessed minions engaging in the bidding of the government that's engaging in surveillance, providing evidence against them as you prosecute it. The government that's stalked by planes is helping 8SLW616 to get closer to federal prison. 7C16141, the same. They're all under the fake sun at the Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue. We're in the natural environment where you're getting beyond the illusion that is serving a satanic means of surveillance that Amazon Prime is fully engaged in, Bezos is fully engaged in, and profiting from in the United States with companies such as Chevron. 9PNN670, Chevron is in fact stalking, and that's exactly how Chevron is going to be treated under federal law with regard to conspiring my murder and gang stalking me, making money, monitoring through its employees, monitoring through its customers, who are all the same entity. And that's how you have the supernatural, which is scientific evidence to put the entity with regard to prosecuting them in the positions that they belong in. That's under the law, and also with regard to federal prison as terrorists are being placed in facilities in order to protect the public. License 66759Y2. They're engaging in surveillance at this Starbucks, they are engaging in surveillance at Starbucks. That's absolutely true, because I referred to that yesterday afternoon while I took a picture of the same exact location, same address, and the fake suns in the same position. This is the crime scene, where a population, numerosity, different faces, same entity, state action. Okay, it's the P.O.C, and they are the mentally ill. These are the dumb. In other words, they are not dumb with regard that they don't know what they're doing, but these are the dumb with regard to their puppets. 9WSX388. And that's how you have the sun that's at the same position at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, that's a pattern of conduct. License 7C16141. And they are indeed stalking inside of the gas station. They are demons who are obsessively stalking me while they are of a condition that is distinct from me, and I am the target while they are all demons stalking me. And it is state action. This is P.O.C, 9:32 a.m. All right, these no beat making wannabe, never going to be rappers, whatever they call themselves, the demons of Lockout Studios at 602 North Euclid Avenue, serial sex offenders, engaging in the perpetual sex offense on a nightly basis with the people of the state, coming from this parking lot, coming from this venue, in relevant position. They're monitoring every sex crime committed by the multitudes, 602 North Euclid Avenue, where the demon possessed are maintaining a studio, which is nothing other than a facilitating venue, and it's never going to happen, by the way. License 6ATM738, license 9TUA617. This is P.O.C. It's pathetic. There is no gang stalking MC that it's not gonna. Anyway, this is P.O.C. These demons are pathetic. The fake sun that's over me at 12:08 yesterday is over me right now at 10:01 a.m. where this is a sex offender and a third party. This is a zombie that's engaging in nothing other than state surveillance, 9KUG553. Specifically, he's a sex offender engaging in sexual assault and battery, and the government confirms it. There's the plane activity. While he's a psychopath pacing, opening and closing the door in the engineered light. It's a demon. The demons are sex offenders. He's walking all around the car. He's monitoring. The fake sun is over me as I'm coming from what is Princeton Street yesterday, and the fake sun's over the same venue where the airport is stalking, where sex offenders like him are demon possessed. They're psychotic. These are the demons that are stalking obsessively as a population, no functioning brain, perverted sexual predisposition, sexual assault and batteries built into the criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring. The government that's a sex offender is stalking via the puppets, the people of the state who are engaging in sex offending as a pattern of conduct. 6 VFM 941 is the same actor. Never is driving under the sun, creating what is light streaming across in order for a demon to touch me. The demons are obsessed. Okay, remember, I don't get here until 12 o'clock yesterday, and I'm reminding you about the demons of the Upland Police. You've gone way out of your way. In fact, you're employing the demonic because that's how obsessed you are with me. That's how mentally ill you are. That's speaking to the necessity of shutting down the Ontario International Airport. Okay, they're monitoring to that sexual violence, to that psychopathic conduct. P.O.C. It is 10:03 a.m. That's a sex offender outside of the Bethel congregation under the fake sun that's still here over me 2 hours from now.
And neither are our hearts. We lift up those among us who are dealing with illness, those in treatment, those waiting for answers, and those slowly finding their strength again. Be near to them, my God. Grant healing where it is needed, patience where the Lord is wrong, and hope when exhaustion sets in. We pray for those who are worried about making ends meet, those carrying the weight of bills, jobs, housing, and uncertainty about tomorrow. Remind them that their worth is not measured by productivity or income. And stir in us the courage to care for one another in practical and generous ways. We hold before you families and relationships under strain, homes filled with tension, conversations that feel impossible, and wounds that have not yet healed. Bring understanding where there is conflict, grace where there is hurt, and new beginnings where there seem to be.
You're listening to what is the scripted prayer, which is audible activity under the fake sun over Bethel congregation. 24 hours ago, I'm still walking toward Bethel congregation after coming from Berlin and Princeton, where I documented the people of the state gang stalking at their facilitating venues, where they refer to as what is private property, where the government's engaging in public corruption, criminal surveillance, and exploiting the Constitution. They are, in fact, proven to not be private properties. They're facilitating venues where the government's maintaining surveillance, and that's how I have the fake sun over me on Princeton Street as I am walking in the direction west, clearly distinct from being over me at Bethel congregation like it is now, where the Ontario International Airport is monitoring to this blasphemous audible activity pursuant to what is a scripted fake prayer, facilitating everybody in that room that's not praying. It's okay because the Lord Jesus isn't listening while they're being documented and they know it. These are demons under a fake sun, and the airport is monitoring. It's 11:48 a.m. This is P.O.C. at Bethel congregation. The fake sun is ahead of schedule. It's already here, and I'm taking images of that right now. This is P.O.C. and the stalker is coming up the stairs with regard to tracking my steps, all the same, at the Bethel congregation. This is P.O.C. This is getting to what is the shared superficiality, the ongoing illusion, the fake reality regarding the demon-possessed that are engaging in criminal monitoring in the United States. The demons are the same at the St. George Catholic Church, at the so-called First Christian Church. They are demons alike. Okay, and they are targeting together. They're defendants alike. This is P.O.C. It's 11:48 a.m. Yesenia Rivas, Gregory, Mickey, Dylan with Securitas, And that would also include Securitas as a third-party company, gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport at the entrance. And the entity is stalking by plane, which is relevant to monitoring. Like I said, everything that's happening in the environment is spiritually significant in that they're demons who are monitoring. So you're looking at the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct with the intent to surveil in violation of existing federal law. They're doing so on communication devices by merely being in that engineer light. The sun's not going to be at the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library in a natural environment, but for Mickey, Dylan, Yesenia Rivas, Lindsay, the employees of the OVIT, and all of the demons gang stalking as patrons inside of the venue, maintaining surveillance with the government, where the entity has the fake sun here at 7 in the morning. This is what I documented, okay? At 10 o'clock in the morning. This is already documented at 11 o'clock in the morning. 2 hours later, 3 hours later, 4 hours later is the ongoing stationary presence where you're engaging in what is stalking. Doing so vicariously on behalf of the government, that as you prosecute it and the system of gang stalking implodes upon exposure, all you're doing is providing evidence against your co-defendant. All of the mummies, the zombies, the puppets, who are the people of the state, the demon-possessed that are not intelligent, they're engaging in the pattern of conduct with knowledge and malice, but they're not intelligent at all. The entity was never prepared for exposure and prosecution. So this is the entity that's engaging in that. The Ontario International Airport is gang stalking me again, stalking from place to place. I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library, doing so under the fake sun, doing so with knowledge of documentation as well. Follow me to the St. George Catholic Church, follow me to the Ontario Village Shopping Center, follow me through the neighborhood as I walk back, following me to the Bethel Congregational Church, following me to the OVITT Family Community Library, and that is punctuated with the fake sun proving that. And this will be the historic means of shutting down a national security threat, which is the Ontario International Airport. This is relevant to what is disbanding the gang members of the Ontario Police Department, who are engaging in what is surveilling me in concert with all of the city of Ontario. That includes the constituents who are not private citizens. This is P.O.C. It's currently 1:03 p.m. Psychopathic pacing, including while they're driving to this is psychopathic pacing. And here's my shadows traveling. And this is stalking while I'm walking through the neighborhood. They're monitoring. This is the same street, by the way, where the fake sun is at the OVITT Family Community Library. 7. The Ontario Police engage in police training. 7. The fake sun setting right here. 6 in the evening. This is the entity that's maintaining that fake sun and stalking me by helicopter. This is them using the police vehicles, stalking. And this is psychopathic pacing. Don't be distracted by the logos on the vehicles. They're being disbanded. These are demons. And the people are stalking with the state in the specific environment. Okay, this is P.O.C. Here's multiple shadows. Here's one over here. This is the shadow. There, the engineer light. Okay, you're talking about just the color of lights. It doesn't explain her shadow just shot all the way up there. That's a demon. She's monitoring. And they are psychopathic while they gang stalk you and don't address you. They're supposed to be strangers, and they are supposed to be engaging in something related to the execution of duties of officers. They're demons, and they're engaged in criminal facilitation. This is the pattern of conduct. They're being disbanded. This is P.O.C. Don't forget what the entity is doing at the square today under the fake sun. That's a molestation. That's vehicle 1616297, vehicle 1042. That's a sex offender, and they're going to prison. That's sexual assault and battery. They're all stalking. This is the entity and this is all about me. That's also why they're going to prison, because they commit murder under these malicious circumstances. They're monitoring together. This is federal stalking, DJ 95E51. On the roads and the highways where the fake sun rises and sets, this is the evidence that's going to put them in prison as well. This is gang violence. This is the same department kidnapping, making malicious assertions, defaming my character, and also conspiring with Tracy Banks, Jason Fields. They're paid to engage in gang stalking, and they're doing so while they're wearing guns. Keeping their back to me is not less of a threat. It's more of a threat. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct as those that are supposed to be executing the duties of officers when they're actually conspiring your murder, gang stalking. You're going to look at their shadows on the walls. These are demons. And there's a body of evidence of the Ontario Police not engaging in anything in Ontario around me in relevant position concerning me and everything pertaining to me and everyone else around me other than monitoring. This is demonic activity that the people of the state, the ones that stalk and engineer light like they are right now, are sharing in. And what's happening is while they are on C Street, I'm on B Street, which is relevant positioning. and they're stalking in the path with light activity. This is the iteration of stalking with light, whereas the fake sun, that's over my head, and they're pacing all around me all day long. Okay, that's the entity. They're using what is engineer light right now. This vehicle 1120, license 1697634. That's a male with a thick, heavy mustache. This is psychopathic pacing, sexual assault and battery, 9WMY 783. The people are stalking with the police. This is federal prison. That's criminal summoning. They're going to prison together. They're not getting out of anything. Being in the presence of the police is incriminating to them. They're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. License plate 6BJA290. That's federal prison. That's a Latino male going to federal prison. And this is that's sexual assault and battery. Wells Fargo's engaged in criminal summoning. Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments engaged in criminal summoning. You already know that. Ontario Town Square, the airport is stalking here. That's the same demon. That's sexual assault and battery. That's the same demon engaged in criminal summoning at the library where the entity's stalking by helicopter. You guys are going to be committed, just so that you know that. That's sexual assault and battery. Mike LORENZ is going to prison. License 1680784, vehicle 1108. This light activity is demonic. 1697700. Why are they turning their sirens on? Because they're demons. Audible activity, demon. She's going to prison. That's CASELESS. She's going to prison. She's a psychopath. They all are. This is Engineer Light. 1680784, prison. License 1614297, vehicle 1042. That was all about stalking me. This is gang violence. Those are the feces consumers. Those are the gang leaders. Mike LORENZ is going to prison for the demons that are engaged in a pattern of conduct, putting him as a terrorist leader in prison. That's why they're engaged. That was harassment, sexual assault and battery, federal stalking under Title 18, and criminal facilitation of it. And the people of the state whose license plate I just read, the facilitating venues are sharing in it. This is the entity that's engaged in that. And you're also going to look at the ease with which, the casual, nonchalant demeanor with which they threaten and engage in psychological torture, because that's what all of that was. They're engaging in stalking me, and stalking is executed through gang stalking police officers through what are traffic stops. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. CASELESS is the one that's with Sergeant Hall while you're talking about under the fake moon, while you're engaging in the pattern of conduct while the entity's stalking day and night in helicopter. That's somebody. Who is the somebody? The ones that they're pulling over in traffic stops, stalking me together. The ones that are gang stalking with impossible light, like they're stalking me together, talking about they got a call while they're stalking. You're going to prison for that, and they're being diagnosed with their malicious audible activity. These are demons that are stalking me. They're not doing anything, including while they use what is a traffic stop as a means to be in the path. This is what Jason Knighton and Lester Keys engaged in January of 2020. They're going to prison. That's a threat to your life, that ongoing unlawful threat while they're bearing those guns and weapons, while they're wearing those badges, which they use, just like LAPD, running somebody over in the middle of the street while they merely turn their sirens on in order to be relieved of responsibility only on the surface. Because you're not going to question it when they are in those vehicles in those positions, but you are questioning it. And it's not legitimate. And they're already proven as stalkers. And those are the that's the entity that is stalking, and so are the people of the state. These are demons molesting. It wasn't different. You just saw them engaging in it with blue and red lights. And they're hostile because I'm documenting, and everybody I just documented is going to prison. Just want to be clear on that. And they're going to prison for the disregard. That's what you're looking at. First of all, the world that you're looking at, the disregard for law and order. They're unfit. They're not staying in law enforcement. They're being removed from law enforcement. But you're also looking at what is the ongoing unfit, incompetent, and untrustworthy criminals who are engaging in what is abusing positions that they are not fit to be in the first place. And you're looking at their casual, cavalier disposition while they are engaging in criminal activity, unprecedented criminal activity, which they aid in. They are the demon possessed altogether. Okay, it is intolerable for demons. They are unfit. They have no business in law enforcement, and everybody on the Ontario Police Department is demon possessed, as are the people of the state. Okay, I'm showing you the pattern of conduct every day. The Ontario Police are stalking with the Ontario International Airport. It's not different right now. And this is the same block where the fake sun is rising and setting. OVITT Family Community Library to Vos Church. Police training at 7 in the morning. To OVITT Family Community Library, 7 in the morning, sunset at 6 in the evening, stalking me by helicopter, engaging in criminal summoning, all manner of the Ontario Police stalking at this block, essentially basically every hour of the day while the fake sun is remaining. They're going to prison. I just documented an unlawful threat. They are going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. And what you're paying attention to, because they're already proven as stalkers, you look at their demeanor, you look at their attitude, you look at the casualty with which they're engaging in terrorism, because that's what that is. That is terrorism, and they're engaging in it with a sarcastic, cavalier, nonchalant engagement. That is not any analysis regarding what is the absence of a threat. Those are cold-blooded serial killers who are hostile to being documented. That's why they're removing my evidence off the internet. That's why they're kidnapping. That's why they're engaging what is stalking and engaging in what is defaming my character and doing so with regard to the conspiracy to commit murder. This is P.O.C. A psychopath is stalking you and keeping their back to you. A coward is gang stalking you. Murderers are doing it while they're calling themselves police officers. They're murderers. Okay? And one of them, you already know, you've seen them. S.CASELESS, she's going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:48 p.m. and what is not going to be missed, what shall be appreciated, is the fact that I am engaging in what is maintaining this case, which is already fully prosecuted, and the fact that it's a threat to my life because I go right into that threat. You're being prosecuted for that. That's not the absence of a threat. That's an ongoing burden that I never should have had to endure in the first place. Okay, so this is the entity that wanted to murder and then control the narrative as though I'm some drug addict, I'm some criminal, I'm the one that's in the wrong. That's not the narrative that's going on here. So you have this attitude, you have this cavalier conduct, which is unhelpful. They are on, from every facet, every angle. They're on the wrong side of the law, and they are shown to be psychopaths, unstable, stalking. Mike LORENZ is being prosecuted with this. Every single last video against that department is going to be used against every single last one of them, showing the pattern of conduct that they share. Not only in Ontario, but with the state of California. Demons, gang stalking. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:49 p.m. I read every single license plate, those remaining at the scene, and those engaged in psychopathic pacing, equally federal prison. P.O.C. 11:04 p.m. Publishing the video for the Ontario Police engaging criminal summoning, and the Ontario Police are stalking, where I'm publishing it, flying over the top of my head. Taking a picture of that right now. All of those demons are going to prison, just like I stated. Every single last one of them are going to federal prison. And this is, again, the ongoing pattern of terrorism. While the entity is indeed engaged in surveillance, is indeed engaged in criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder, and they engage in more terrorist acts like stalking me by helicopter, harassing me by helicopter, flying over my head and flying in circles around me and following me around, doing so as I publish video documentation, harassing and repeating that thread, including as I document the demons' partners that were gang stalking at Vos Church right now. I took a screenshot of what I'm doing on my phone, publishing this video. I took pictures right now of the entity, and you can hear it on my podcast. They're all going to federal prison. The people in the state whose license plate I read, and the demons in the Ontario police vehicles, the ones engaging in psychopathic pacing by merely driving by, and those that are stopping in the path, engaging in what is conspicuous surveillance in furtherance of murder and psychological torture. They're doing so in concert with the people, and that's why the people are monitoring my vagina, molesting me, engaging in sexual assault and battery, harassing, stealing my property, defaming my character, engaging in physical assault and battery. They're going to federal prison, every single last one of them. The Ontario police are engaging and leading in gang violence. They are being disbanded for it, but they are going to federal prison. They are not getting any 401k. They will not be getting any retirement. They will not be getting a final paycheck. They are being immediately removed from these positions because this is terrorism. It is not any conduct within the execution of duties of officers that is protected with regard to due process rights because of the criminal conduct that this agency is proven to be engaging in, which is also then punctuated with the ongoing documented pattern of stalking me by helicopter. S.CASELESS couldn't be more of an idiot. She's going to prison. And her partner just solidified that. Not that I needed these idiots to help me. This is all that they ever do. That whole gang is going to prison. It's P.O.C. It's 11:06 p.m. Flying over the top of my head again, taking more pictures of that, because I'm going to put this on X. This is documentation of the surveillance on the internet, meaning they're not just gang stalking a relevant position. Like I said, when the entity is stalking me by helicopter, doing so as I'm publishing and identifying sex offenders who are the people of the state, the one with whom S.CASELESS and all the rest of those gang members are committing criminal summoning with, they do so pursuant to what is ongoing retaliatory conduct. Terrorists that are bearing badges and using helicopters to mow me down, fly over me, stalk and harass and intimidate while they fly circles around me like you're going to drop bombs on me. Are you going to come kidnap me again? This is the entity that's engaging in psychological torture to engage in what is incalculable harm on both a psychological level as well. They're flying over my head again while I'm publishing the evidence online, and those gang members are indeed going to prison. Just want to document that. It's currently 11:09 p.m. These are demons. I just want to be clear. Mike LORENZ, they know that they are not only guilty, they know that they've been proven guilty. This is relevant to a threat. There is no amount of damages that can quantify the harm that the gang members of that Ontario police have inflicted, not only by engaging in this conduct, which is proven, as it's proven in California, it's proven throughout the United States, but also as they have engaged in what is conspiring my murder as a department. You are acting in furtherance of that conspiracy while you're stalking me in helicopters as I'm publishing your partner's criminal activity against me on the internet, where you are not coincidentally flying over my head twice in a row. Also, while I'm doing that, I'm publishing it on the internet. That pattern showing what is the ongoing correlation behind the terrorism I'm subject to in relevant position and the terrorism regarding removing my evidence, which is a threat to my life, that third parties such as YouTube and X are sharing in, while this entity is engaging in what is conduct that will never amount to you never having a basis in court to ever claim that you are not targeting. You've conceded that you're targeting. And so are they when they're flying over the top of my head. I just want to be clear on that. This is exactly what the entity was doing while I was at the town square. As I am publishing identities of sex offenders, and the entity goes to newsboy papers across the street from me, engages in criminal summoning. And the entity is molesting the sex offenders that I identified at the Saris Regis downtown Ontario luxury apartments in that parking garage, where their headlights are not going to move across the wall and touch my person and crawl all across my thighs. The sex offenders are identified. The demons are stalking by helicopter and using the vehicles of the Ontario police. That's exactly what I documented already earlier today. The entity flying over my head, I'm documenting it. They're monitoring the evidence. They know it, and they commit that ongoing terrorist act again. This is relevant to what are federal judges who are going to be very generous with regard to federal time for very serious acts of terrorism against American citizens. Understand, they do this and much more to American citizens who are already dead. They're already gone. That needs to be appreciated. They're going to prison for what they're doing. To somebody that is exposing it, you're going to federal prison. You're not getting less time because your witchcraft doesn't work against me. You're not getting less time because I am resisting and standing toward what is exposing and prosecuting. You're getting more time because this is relevant to those whom they have successfully murdered and silenced. That impunity is an unlawful threat, and it's a threat to what are American citizens. You engage in conduct which is unbecoming, which is unlawful, at the very least improper, while it's published on the internet. Mike LORENZ and the Ontario police have not slowed down one bit. They've engaged in more and more violence. Not even seeking to try to be diplomatic with regard to what could be, well, not could be, but what they could have treated as some sort of misunderstanding, and not wanting to be confused with terrorists in the United States, not wanting to have that level. That's not what you're dealing with here. These are maniacal psychopaths. They're going to federal prison. I have documented it. I proved it. They have proven and demonstrated it. CEASELESS and all those cavalier stalkers, all those vagina monitors, all those psychopaths. They're psychopaths while they're stalking. That their partner is proving that. They're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:12 p.m. It's 11:31 p.m. These are the demons that think they're going to challenge the federal government. They're being disbanded and they're going to prison. And this is the defiance of CEASELESS and every other gang member, including the people of the state, who are all, every single last one of them, are going to federal prison for what I just documented on video. While the entity is now stalking as a means of retaliation, again, so mentally ill as though you're going to defy the federal government. They're stalking me at ARCO by helicopter pursuant to the pattern of conduct regarding surveillance on the internet. This is what they do via sexual violence. They molest me with engineered light while I publish the evidence on the venue of the internet. This is what they do by the Ontario International Airport. They stalk me by planes while I publish the evidence on the venue of the internet. These are demons that think that they are going to defy federal law. You're not. You're going to prison. As clearly as you hear this helicopter in the background, you're getting more time. I hope you understand that this is called obstruction. P.O.C. And this is the entity that's doing so at ARCO. The fact that you hear it means they're not going anywhere. That's called surveillance. In the specific environment, meaning it's tailored to me, it is surveillance. You're stalking me specifically, and it's no coincidence that I'm putting evidence regarding harassment targeting by this department that's engaging in that on a routine basis using helicopter. In fact, this is the second time today. P.O.C.
They're going to prison. And they're remaining at ARCO. I'm at 434 North Euclid Avenue. ARCO's being prosecuted. Chevron's being prosecuted, just like Wells Fargo's getting prosecuted. Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments is getting prosecuted. The entity that's gang stalking on the roads and the highways, this is gang violence, and the gang is being prosecuted. The gangs that are stalking wearing uniforms, they're going to prison. The gangs stalking in relevant position in your face as an American citizen with those demons in uniforms are going to prison. Those that are sharing in the elements of monitoring in real time, they're going to federal prison. Play around if you want to. You're going to find out because you're going to prison. These demons are engaging in criminal summoning and then stalking with what is helicopter as you report it to the feds, because that's essentially what I'm showing you, how you're going to prosecute a government. And these are psychopaths, delusional, as though they're going to gang stalk you out of... They're going to be committed. That's what's going to happen. The feces consumers are going to be sat down and they're going to be committed. You need to understand that this is mental illness that CASA shares. This is the same entity. They are the same pattern of conduct. This is how they operate, and this is what's wrong with them, and that's behind that cavalier attitude, like nobody cares. Oh, it's not about me. Nobody cares. You're just sounding your sirens and just molesting with light. Honey, you're going to prison. They're going to prison. Listen to that helicopter activity. This is going to what is ongoing psychological torture and harassment. P.O.C. This is ominous stalking, flying in circles above my head, flying around me, threatening me, doing so while I'm publishing evidence about this department. This is Mike Lorenz. These are murderers that engage in this conduct, this bullying conduct. You're not bullying anybody. I'm bullying you. You're going to prison. That's the response. That's what you're witnessing right now, and they're going to prison for it. That's a level of mental illness that is very severe, and it's a level of mental illness that threatens the public. It's psychopathic, it is maniacal within severity, and it is also delusional with regard to the fact that you're in trouble. They were supposed to be stalking me secret. Remember, they're supposed to paint me as the crazy person. Turns out, like I said, I was never that. And this is a pattern regarding how the government targets people. And you're seeing the unhinged psychopaths that they are. And this is establishing precedent. Psychopaths like this, gang stalkers like this, they're going to prison. This is terrorism. They're going to federal prison. That's mandated. Non-negotiable. They're going to federal prison. The demon in this helicopter, these demons in these helicopters, they are literally going to report who's in operation at the heliport, their operation, who's in the helicopter, the sky space. They're going to report. I'm going to let you know right now, it's going to be given, it's going to be handed over. They're going to prison, and so are the gang members that I just documented on video. P.O.C. It's currently 11:36 p.m. All right. Hopping out your car real quick as I walk over toward your license plate. You'll see them on surveillance cameras. Just engaging what is stalking with the police. They're going to regret this. These are the demons that are going to prison. They're going to learn some hard lessons about spending time in prison, and that way they'll learn to not be gang stalking American citizens. License plate 9 Paul Zebra Bob 932 at gas stall number 5, gang stalking. You're understanding the venues are stalking. Like I'm showing you Chevron, the fake sun over me at 12 in the afternoon, and I'm at Chevron in the morning earlier today, and I'm showing you at 10 o'clock, and that fake sun is over me, and I've been at Chevron much earlier than that as well. I've been documenting Balbier, I've been documenting them. But just giving you an example, you're looking at the duration of time I go to the same venue at different times and the fake sun is in the same position. That's identifying a venue. Venues will be prosecuted and identified as stalking. The venue doesn't have to walk around and be on wheels. The venue is stalking while that environment, the demonic environment that the demons thought that they were so clever that they could keep around you and that you would be looked at as some sort of paranoid schizophrenic when you have an impulse about being followed and pursued, but you can't prove it and you don't know how, even though you don't know these people and they're not even addressing you. That's malice with regard to wanting to psychologically harm the person that you are in fact stalking, and you're doing so as a psychopath that likes to pull out planes and helicopters. Oh, there are places for people like that. That's where the demons of the Ontario police are going. Gang stalking so-called police officers, which is an un-American oxymoron, is going to be dealt with federal prison and mental examinations. Stalking me by helicopter is Exhibit A regarding why that is the case. Okay, the entity is engaging in that, and that is not helping what I am putting on the internet. And while you have met what is the match, meaning not even that, I'm not even their match. I am superior to them. They cannot gang stalk me by millions of people and stop what is happening. The machine that is the federal prosecution of the U.S. government, they can't stop it. The entities engaging in that, and they still have refused with regard to what is their mental illness. It's psychopathic and delusional. You're understanding what is under all circumstances unhelpful for you. It is not beneficial. The entity engaging in what is assault and battery, that demon's license plate I just read, that little sex offender is engaging in what is crossing a path while impossible light flashes. He's driving a bucket. He's a little skinny, looking like a prepubescent little coward, okay? You could easily snap his neck. He's a punk. These are cowards that stalk you with impossible light. While they're far away where you can't touch them, where you can't get to them, they're touching you with engineered light while they're monitoring you. This is while the entity is stalking you by helicopter. That's federal prison. Understand that. And he's gang stalking at ARCO. That's costing ARCO. This is how the gang violence is going to be broken down, and it's imploding. ARCO's liable. Chevron is liable. They're also liable while the entity is keeping a specific environment over you. That entity is doing so, and I gave you an example. The entity is stalking with the fake sun over me. Yesterday, I'm not arriving until after 12 p.m. The fake sun's over me at this Chevron. I'm arriving at the Chevron this morning at 10 in the morning, and the fake sun's over me at the same address 2 hours earlier. But it remains over the OVITT Family Community Library upon my entrance, and as I remain there, which my evidence has already shown, it being over that entrance, which is clearly distinct and different and not happening at the same time with regard to stalking with the fake sun, stalking with the whole environment. An environment is relevant with regard to a whole entity that is keeping you under surveillance, the illusion of privacy and the illusion of strangers who are engaging in surveillance in the United States, who use what are documents and the idea, the notion of what is the abstract theory regarding the federal and state constitutions when there is no such privacy and the government is not actually operating or bound by it. They actually are acting in a manner that is antithetical to it. To the contrary, when it's exposed, you're looking at the barbaric conduct that they actually engage in and that they facilitate, they incentivize. All right, these are demons. And that's going to be relevant with regard to mental illness diagnosis. It's not a defense, and it's also not a basis to prosecute. It's relevant context. It's relevant context, and it's proven through tangible evidence. What do you think this fake sun and this fake moon and this engineered light is, what this is about? I've also proven amplified audible activity. It's proven. You can see it. When the LAPD is stalking me and I'm inside of my apartment in my bedroom, but there is helicopter activity, I can't hear that outside of my living room window. While you're flying over the mountains, that's impossible audible activity. How is it that I'm hearing that? I'm not doing anything supernatural. Okay? I'm not doing anything supernatural. I'm using my natural, normal 5 senses. It is amplified audible activity with regard to demons that are employing the supernatural, targeting American citizens who don't have the evidence to prove and who are being overwhelmed with what is the demonic, witchcraft, Satanists, psychopaths, the government, demons, demonic activity. That same malicious system is coming back to haunt them, and they're going to wind up in mental facilities. Because you don't know how to stop stalking somebody that's putting it on video and all over the internet. And you didn't put 2 and 2 together that maybe you should stop providing that level of evidence against everybody else in the state of California, let alone you in that little old department that is entirely disposable. You have made yourself unnecessary. And you will be dealt with. You're going to be removed altogether. The Ontario Police will be no more. They're not a police department right now. They are embarrassing themselves. And they continuously embarrass themselves because they're dealing with what is a false sense of ego. So now they're just it's humiliation on top of shame, and that's what they're operating off of, hot air. That's it. That's the reality. That's what they're doing. The entities engage in that pattern of conduct while they are monitoring evidence. And the people of the state engage in violence, which with this third party that I just read his license plate, and he's engaging what is violence. I'm being attacked with light out of nowhere. That's psychological harm. That's psychologically tormenting and torturous conduct, which is actionable. It's state action. It is actionable. It is not within anybody's imagination. Demons that are stalking on the opposite side of the road, like they are at what is Empire Publishing, stalking in the middle of the night, engaging in surveillance, like the demon, this white man, keeping me under surveillance while I'm under the fake moon in the morning, sitting there monitoring, obsessing over me, listening to me breathe, inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale. Stalking while on behalf of the government. Psychopathic pacing is what they're doing. They're pacing all around me while they're stalking, engaging in conspicuous surveillance. They're surveilling you right in your face. That's actionable. It is actionable. They can speed off all they want. You're going to get the business. You're going to get everybody else that's there. You're going to get the entity that's in relevant position all around them because they're not monitoring by themselves. They are telling on everyone else. And they're going to prison for these things and more. They're going to federal prison. And that's where terrorists belong. That's where terrorists belong. That's where cowards and hypocrites and sex offenders are going. Murderers are going. They've been engaging in committing murders for decades. They've been getting away with it. They've been permitting the people of the state to let out their acts of violence and murder each other. This is what the government that's stalking me by helicopter, this is what they're telling you about themselves while they're engaged in this corrupt system. That's what the entity has stalking me. Oh, that's not going to remain as a police department. You're done. You're done. You've shown that you are not engaging in policing. You're engaged in what is gang violence. You're literally the reason for this violence, and you are being disbanded because of it. Because of it, you are responsible for it. In the same way that you would claim responsibility for solving a case, for decreasing crime in the city. You are responsible for gang violence. You're responsible for the psychological torture that an American citizen suffers. And it is not within their imagination. It's fully documented, and it's a system. I'm not the first one. In other words, you're responsible for it, and the response is federal prison and disbanding. It is your fault, in other words, and you are taking responsibility. And you could be silent, and you could be prosecuted by that fake sun and that engineered light, that psychotic environment showing your mental illness, or you can speak and everything be used against you. Either way, you're going to prison and you're being disbanded. You have no legitimacy, no credibility. And it's pathetic. It is outrageous. You gang members have no business in law enforcement, and you are being publicly removed. That's why you're being humiliated in doing so. You've been clowns the whole time. Bringing Craig Hazelwood and Owens, these little pipsqueaks, these little flunkies, these little losers that don't care about going to prison, to engage in coming around and throwing my property away because you're all angry. You be angry all you want. You're going to be angry in federal prison because that's how this is ending. You're going to federal prison for throwing my property away. I hope it's worth it. This is P.O.C. It's currently, by the way, it's 11:46 p.m. where a population of sex offenders are obsessing over me. And it's pathetic. And it's because they're demons. They're mentally ill. This is P.O.C. It is Sunday, February 8, 2026. This is documentation on another day of a city, which is a statewide pattern of conduct engaging in stalking me from place to place, which is domestic terrorism in these United States of America. This is P.O.C. It is 12 a.m. and what you'll see reflected in my images while I am at Vesta and Vine Avenue. This is at third party license plate 7 Charlie 52384. Crossing path. Ontario police are stalking, and so are they. 9L. I can't really see the rest of that one. This is at third party facilitating venue 216 North Vine Avenue, where I've already captured the fake sun. I captured the population sharing the behavioral pattern, stopping in the middle of the street. Fake sun is over me, facilitating light activity, impossible light all over their venues. This is the entity that's gang stalking, and the Ontario police, who are suicidal, demonic, and very highly dangerous because of their mental instability, their incompetence, the level of desperation that is coming out of them, that is being clearly exhibited while they are being shown to be what is embarrassing. You're being shown to be stalkers. You're being shown to be mentally unstable. You're being shown to be clearly engaging in what is the exact opposite of what those uniforms and those positions require, which is you're a criminal, and you're no ordinary criminal. You're a demon-possessed one. The entity is literally stalking me while I'm at Vine Vine Avenue. That's a distance that you are going. Again, wanting to engage, and this is relevant to psychological torture. These are the tactics that are employed with regard to trying to stalk someone and break them down psychologically before you murder them. The entity is still engaging in this. They are still engaging in this when again, normal people are looking at like a federal court, and federal investigators are, you're always analyzing the suspect. You're analyzing the defendant. You're analyzing the criminal, the convicted criminal. This is conduct of the entity, the department, that knows that it's guilty, knows that it's been found guilty, been proven guilty. And this level of desperation that is exhibited isn't a law. You're going to even analyze that with regard to what I am entitled to, what an American citizen is entitled to, based on that level of criminal conduct, that desperation by those that have guns. They've got positions that they're abusing. They're engaging in what is literally a sanctioned stalking. They're out in police vehicles all night long stalking me. And they call that a day's work of police work. That department is keeping me under surveillance. That's what they're getting paychecks for. That's essentially, not essentially, that is like literally what they are doing. And they are following me from ARCO, 434 North Euclid Avenue, 12 a.m. I took pictures of it. You are in the sky space. I'm looking up and bam, there you are. I'm walking and I'm hearing the helicopter. This is psychological torture. This is harassment and terrorism while the entity is stalking you and doing so that you hear the helicopter communicating a threat, that you see the helicopter communicating a threat. Why are you following me? It's not a coincidence while I'm walking away and you are still in the sky space around me. In the same way, you're flying in circles around me, but you don't mean to be flying circles around me. It just coincidentally is happening over and over and over again. This is an entity that's stalking. So I just want to be clear on that. This is where, again, the entity is doing so. Where the entity is stalking, I'm at 210 North Vine Avenue. The train activity is relevant to monitoring. The Ontario police are still monitoring while you have a method of audible activity. The people of the state are pacing on the roads and the highways. They're stalkers. Literally no one's going to be out driving. You're talking about what would not be. The entity maintains heavy traffic because they're engaging in surveillance, 24-hour surveillance. They are obsessed in the same way that the demons of the Ontario police show severe, severe, severe obsession. The heavy traffic is relevant to surveillance. They keep that 24 hours a day. All right, and that's because they're stalking. But just want to be clear, I'm capturing that. That's an unlawful threat, and it's also an ongoing concession. The entity knows that it is guilty, and you're also analyzing the decisions that they've made, the actions that they've taken with that knowledge. That's going toward diagnosing mental illness. That's going toward damages awarded. That's going toward federal charges, time in prison. Okay, this is establishing precedent standards for disbanding as well. This level of threatening conduct, of instability by a department that's supposed to be trustworthy. They're supposed to be in positions of authority. They're given discretion with regard to acts that they take out on the street. This is what courts do when they are upholding what these gang stalkers proven in the U.S. are engaging in. They're given this discretion, but I'm showing you a whole other side regarding their instability, high instability, including while you hear that loud amplified audible activity, instability. Instability is what you're witnessing. These are demons. These are demons that are engaging in that, and said that same maniacal conduct exhibited through audible activity is also shown through stalking me in a helicopter as I'm walking through the neighborhood. Unstable. No, you do not give unstable psychopaths who are engaging in surveillance, unbeknownst to the American people, discretion to use whatever of force that they find to be reasonable at that point of time, and then retroactively legitimizing it and making it reasonable with regard to these gang stalking courts, because that's essentially what they're doing. They do not have any position they should not be in any position where they are exercising discretion. I am showing you high mental instability by these demons who are unfit to even be in those positions in the first place. This is changing the landscape. This is changing the ability to even get into law enforcement. This is changing the ability to remain in law enforcement. And it's also changing the way in which this industry, this field is looked at and viewed and assessed. It's not a lack of training, it's surveillance. They're not actually interested in protecting and serving. It's bullying. And this is what is being given discretion. If you're aware, those of you that practice law, those of you that are aware with criminal justice, the courts very heavily weigh upon and use to veer away from trying to specifically legislate regarding what a police officer should do under X, Y, and Z circumstances, okay? And that's because they want to make sure, because of their positions, and they're so dangerous, and they're putting their lives on the line. And so we cannot involve ourselves in the discretion that they need. They need this discretion in order to make those split-second decisions regarding what's dangerous. That's a bunch of malarkey. They're demons. You look at this stalking conduct. This is changing the way these gang stalking corrupt courthouses are going to rule. They're not even going to have the ability to engage in this sort of the way that the system operates. It's facilitating this, and this is the implosion of all of it. Okay, it's bigger than just these demons that know that they're guilty. This suicidal conduct, I have nothing to lose, so I'm going to keep on stalking you. You're not getting out of prison. I hope you know that. I hope your wife knows that. I hope your gay lover knows that. I hope your dog and your kids know that, because you're not getting out of prison. And you are going to find out who you are if you're delusional enough to act like you don't know who you are. You're not getting out of prison. You keep accumulating more and more and more. You're not going to get out. You're not getting out. This is P.O.C. You're going in, you're not getting out. It's currently 12:07 a.m. That's the entity stalking me, in fact, P.O.C.